Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Weebsden. My name is Phantasm Star from the anime and Twitch channel Phantasm Star. And with me today is the amazing cast as always. We got Mitchie coming back. Say hi, Mitchie.
Hello.
And with me today, coming back from last week's episode, we got Raph. Say hi, Raph.
Hey,
And can I just say, I really appreciate you guys for coming in today on this wonderful day. I know you guys have very busy lives, watching anime and just chilling out.
yep, let's say that.
Of course, I will never forget about you, Bilo. But anyway, so today what we want to be talking about for this special episode of the Weeps Den is I want to ask you guys some questions about the current state of anime right now and talk more specifically about the current state of fan service, whether or not it helps or ruins a show, depending on what exactly the subject is.
And just clarifying, we are talking about like sexual fan service and not things like Easter eggs, right?
Well, that's the thing, right? Is that like fan service is so blurred these days from like different stuff for like different genres of any series. You can't even tell which is fan service and what's not fan service. Like, I guess like that's the reason why I want to ask these questions for you guys, because I think it's important to know exactly like what everybody's perspective is in terms of what you don't mind and what you do mind.
Okay.
So, but that being said, we will. I'll be conducting these questions through my own computer. Questions I've written down personally, so that way, like, I just want to learn, and we could discuss about them for a little bit. So,
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I guess rolling into that first topic that you mentioned that I mentioned before, what exactly does define like fan service for you?
Well, for me, like I think it just varies. There's a whole wide range and there is a bunch of different genres of it. But
Yeah.
I think the main one that most people, when they hear fan service, that comes to mind would be some sort of sexual fan service.
Yeah, of course. I mean, like a lot. I think that's what the whole idea of fan service is about. It's just like we, you take a certain character and then you sexualize them for both male and female.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's my at least my understanding of I guess the generic concept of fan service that I've seen in anime. I wasn't aware of the other genres. I don't know if that excuse my perspective, but as far as fan service to me, it's anything that's maybe just over sexualized when it doesn't need to be or just feels out of place for I guess the show or the pacing of the show or the way the show is going. But for me, it's just the main group of over sexual.
Yeah. So like, if you have a certain character and he or she has a little bit too much skin exposed, that was pretty much what you would define as fan service.
Yes.
Auto. Also redo is okay. Uh, I wanted to get into that auto tune about Redo of Healer because right now that's been making headways right now in terms of the anime community. But honestly, it's just a trash anime. But it has like super heavy in terms of fan service.
That's like I think with Redo Healer they made a new kind of like they made a deranged form of fan service. To be honest, if we're gonna get into the nitty gritty, but yeah,
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, fan service comes from like different perspectives. Like, I mean, again, it goes into saying like what counts as fan service, what doesn't count, what also counts as say like just straight weird, terrible animes that just basically use fan service as a major plot device.
yeah.
Elfen light.
Uh,
Okay, okay, Elfen Lied. Elfen Lied is amazing.
Elfin Lied. I like Elfin. I like what's the way it's pronounced? Is it lead or lied? Which one is it?
Elfen Lied.
I have
Elfin
no
Lied.
idea. I hated that show.
I loved it. I loved it. It's messed up, but it's also got a pretty decent story. I like it 100 times more than Reo of Healer.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, well, that's the thing is that like, the first episode was amazing. The first episode was amazing, but like, you're basically watching a girl who's naked with pink hair killing people.
Yeah.
See, that's not even what bothered me about that show. It's the fact that it was such a serious show, and then they used fan service to just plot convenience, and it drove me nuts.
Yeah.
But I could complain about this show for hours, so we can just.
I heard you complain about before, so I know exactly what you're gonna say. But like,
I mean, yes, the fan service in it was like very, very contrived. And I was like, no, this is a fight scene. Keep your clothes on. But I've watched a lot of anime like that, so I think after a while, I just diverted myself to focusing on the plot and just like, okay, fan service, go away for now. But
yeah, like I do believe that fan service does add something to the mix, but in terms of actually like being, I feel like that if it's a major plot point to distract the viewer from the actual like story itself, that's when I like roll my eyes towards like fan service. I don't um I do believe in like not censoring stuff because if we don't censor some stuff, there's like we don't learn about stuff. But at the same point, like when it comes to this type of stuff, there are certain stuff in my opinion that I believe that should be censored. It depends on what. It's a very mixed bag of opinions.
yeah, I agree with that.
Like when I was watching, so a couple weeks ago, I was watching what was this series? No Game No Life, and this is like the perfect example why I've had this conversation, which was what actually a good story, an interesting main protagonist, interesting world and concept. The only thing that brought it down was the fan service.
Right? Like the one awkward bathroom scene.
Oh yeah, like
Well,
that was my biggest gripe with maybe it's also because of the fact that like I'm so used to it, but even then like when it interrupts like such major decisions, like oh we just you know create a trade route between two nations that were warring, but now let's go to a bathhouse, like what does this have to do with anything?
yeah.
Hey, people need to bathe.
Some people have to bathe after playing video games, right? um so going into the next question, which is like, why do you think that some animes have to have fan service versus others that use fan service as plot convenience?
Do you want my honest opinion on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sex sells.
Well, of course.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's number one, I guess, that everyone either admits or doesn't admit. But yeah, I was in my opinion, if I may, I think it's just maybe cultural and maybe also a bit of cultural and oh, it's because Japan thinks that's what sells. But other than that, I don't have anything grounded or backed with evidence. But other than that, I think maybe maybe they used fan service to try to save a bad show or a show where the writer just kind of goes off
That's
or loses, I guess, loses the plot and doesn't and has the rest of like 50% of the show that's left is not as interesting as first.
Well, let's also not forget that I mean, I'm not an artist at all, but in most cases, from what I've heard, is fan service is a lot more fun to draw,
Oh, absolutely.
right?
Oh,
So that's another thing too. If you think about the animation,
right. I didn't think about that.
I mean, what you're talking about a lot. You did bring up a good point, Raph. Is a lot of series that in these recent couple of years, like last year was like 2020. A lot of animes got canceled because of how uh like how heavily fan service was put into these certain series. Like if you look at Interspecies Reviewers, like I have to say, Interspecies Reviewers was actually a good funny show. But a lot of people in the West were like, this is basically talking about sex, and I'm like, well, yeah, that's the whole
Yeah,
point. So like
right. Yeah, that's what it's based around.
so like even when like a show like not like Interspecies Reviewers gets canceled, or which is basically they know what they're doing and they stick with it. That's when I'm like, okay, fan service can be used in that sort of sense, but for like I don't know, I'm gonna say like needless ones, because there's some like famous animes out there that do still have fan service, like Code Geass, for example. Like wasn't as bad in the first season, but as soon as the second season happened, it just like ramped up the fan service, and that's why I've never been a big fan of the second season.
well, and like even more like recent shows there where there's been fan service from the beginning, but people just like I said, it just kind of becomes a thing of anime. So a good example would be Seven Deadly Sins.
Oh, Seven Deadly Sins.
Oh yeah.
I okay.
Well,
I know you're gonna go with this, but go ahead. I want to hear what you want to say.
No, I was just gonna say like there's fan service in it,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and there's been fan service in it since day one.
Right.
And I just feel like shows like Seven Deadly Sins,
Mm-hmm.
as much as it's not needed, because it's really not, at least it's not over the top.
Right. I was just about to say that. At least from what I remember, I've only watched the first season and a little bit of the second, but I don't think the fan service was grotesque in that one. That's
It wasn't grotesque. Like I think that if you compare it to like such a bigger one like Fairy Tale, like the fan service basically got more and
oh
more
yeah,
heavier as the series went on. But
oh yeah,
like Seven Deadly Sins, even then, like it did diminish some moments. Like I did not care about like, or I wouldn't say I didn't care, but like I didn't really feel for like some of the female characters in Seven Deadly Sins, because they were used only for like fan service. So like it didn't bring it down for me. I still think that Seven Deadly Sins is great, but like even then, like there's some like stuff in there that I'm like, do you really need to be doing it? Do you need to do that?
yeah.
Um, okay, but like, w- for when is it okay to be using like fan serve? When is it? When do you think it is okay to be using fan service, and for what reason? Like,
The genre. No, I'm being serious. Like,
no, you're
You
not
if
mean
wrong.
you
like
watch.
you mean like instead of it being in like a serious anime to serve as like a foil, maybe for a comedy. Is that what
No,
you
no, no.
mean?
Like, well, you can put fan service in a serious anime. You just have to do it in a very more mature way. So, for example, um, let's just say you're having some serious anime, you can have fan service of a girl in the shower
Mm-hmm.
while
Yeah.
she's thinking stuck in thought.
Yeah,
Right, no, but you get what I'm saying?
yeah, I know
Yeah,
what
It
you're
yeah,
doesn't
saying.
take from the anime, it adds to the anime. You can still have fan service in it. But there's a difference between having that in a serious anime and having some girl who just happens to walk and her clothes fall off. Like,
yeah. Okay, okay.
Dude,
I got.
or you're looking at like all these like series where it's like, um, the girl gets punched really easily, and then all of her clothes just basically rip off. I'm like, what?
I feel
yeah,
like
yeah,
that's
I'm talking
like.
about Fire Force right now. Like,
I feel
Oh,
like that's every anime I've watched. To be honest, I mean, I don't. So in my mind, it's still going back to culture, but the only one that I thought it was just like, okay, guys, I know what you're doing, and it might be working, but I don't like it. Would be Keijo,
yo,
but
Keijo's
that
amazing.
yeah, but that's it was centered around a sport about that, and then their uniforms, and then what they studied, and I'm just like, okay, guys, I can't say I don't like what you're doing, but I don't like the fan service in this just because of the overall point of the show. So that's the only one that comes to my mind when it's like too much like fairy tale, like you just said. I felt like the story brought it back, like so. There's like serious moments in the story, then fan service at random times, but then it goes back to the serious story. I think Tale does a good job of recovering. So I'm not saying Fairy Tail is a big is up there on my list of anime, but it's definitely one I would recommend to watch. But yeah, the fan service in there is a little
Even
too.
yeah, I get what you're saying. Like even in like major shonen series, like you look at Naruto or Bleach or especially One Piece. One
Uh,
Piece, like the fan service is crazy in that, but it still doesn't take away from how great some of the characters are.
right.
but see, I feel like part of that is because it is so long.
Okay.
So a lot of the reason why like some people hate fan service and the reason why I think a lot of people hate fan service is because it takes away from like possible important conversations or meaningful development in the screen time. However, when you have a show like One Piece that has way too many episodes,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Then
They're still going to.
yeah, well that like 3 minutes of fan service is 3 minutes of fan service. While in a you know, like a 13 episode show, that 3 minutes is taken away from so much that could happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. That's why, like, when you're doing when you're doing like something big, like even in like even major series, like fans minimalist amount of fan service, there's still some fan service. Like you look at Full Metal Alchemist, like there's no fan service for the most part in any of it except for like that one scene with Lust, and that's like it didn't take anything away from me. It was only like a brief second, but for I do agree. There are major stuff like I will say that like Food Wars was like what is definitely one of the good examples of like good serious moments, but can still have like fan service and it
But
works
see,
well.
but see, the reason why though is because Food Wars is an etchy,
Yeah,
right? So it makes it something completely different if you're going in to watch an etchy. You expect there to be fan service,
Oh, that's right. That's right. I forgot
right?
about. But
But if you
still, I
go
think.
in, sorry,
Uh, Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, but I was gonna say, but if you go in to watch a show like Elfen Lied, where you expect it to be a serious show, and then all of a sudden she trips and her boobs fall on somebody, and she's like, "Oops, I don't know who I am." Night, night, night. You're like, "Okay, shut up!" Like you're making every girl look like a big bimbo. Get up. Start killing people and do something productive. Damn it! Like
Wait,
That's
which
an anime,
character? Which
that's an
character?
anime trope.
the main girl.
From Elfenlied?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That's a trope, though. I think that's the thing. Like, if they, I think one of the more common tropes I've seen in maybe the older animes, and then they bring it back, is like a girl falls out the sky, and then she falls on the main character, and then like somehow she's landed on him in a very sexual and suggestive way.
Yeah,
So
sure.
I brushed that off. I just
Yeah,
brushed that
sure.
off.
Once in an anime, not like 40 times in like a one season anime,
Yeah.
Right. Well,
which is supposed to be a serious show. No, thank you.
well. Yeah. You're right. You're right there. But I didn't think I didn't think it happened that much. I thought it was like, okay, it's enough. That's distracting. Move on. But when, since we brought up Food Wars, I thought it was distracting, like a serious competition. Takes a bite of food, clothes fall off. But then after a while, like it only happened like what 10 seconds of the shot, and then and then it went back to normal. Like, oh, you won, yeah. And then
I
we'll cut to a
I
next.
I don't know. When I watched the first episode, I was like, okay, this is weird. But like as the series went on, you just got so used to it. It's like, but
Right.
even
Like,
you, hmm?
it was like woven into the end of the serious moment, but then they just glaze over it, and then you're like, oh, okay, their clothes are back on, it's fine. But I think they did it really well. I don't know if that's what an ecchi is about, but right, if you know you're going to watch an ecchi, that makes more sense and makes you feel better about what you see, and not like a little bit like, why the hell did you do that? Because this is a serious anime.
Well,
She fell on him like 50 times, and she wasn't wearing clothes each of those times.
well, see, another
But
thing with like Food Wars, for example, is like it started from episode 1 where they're getting tickled with feathers.
yeah,
Like, so you're like, okay, this is the type of show it is. And then they kept that consistent through the whole show that it was just so, all right, yeah, sure. Meat comes in and her boobs are jiggling, and you're just so over it because it's just the whole show.
Yeah, like
It's not just randomly in there over the top.
like for me, and it's not just the girls, but the guys too. That also,
Mm-hmm.
but more of the girls. But like, it didn't take away from anything in terms of like realizing that all the girls and the guys that have fan service, there it didn't take away from anything in terms of like how great both the male and female cast is in Food Wars, and it's still one of my top 20 animes of all time. And like I still
And
think, I was gonna
I was
say,
gonna say, and that's the other thing too, is that it has both male and female fan service. Well, some of these shows only have female, and some of them only have male. Like there's very few that can put it on both sides and not care.
yeah. So it's so for the most part, like it depends on what exactly you're talking about or what series you're talking about. But yeah, I don't like needlessly grabbing at fan service for me is not what I want to see in terms of a good series. For me, I want to see like if you're gonna do fan service, do it the right way and just like say if it's an ecchi, then you know exactly what you're getting into. If it's like a political drama or whatever, and then like it, and then at the last minute there's like fan service. It's like okay, it really depends on how tasteful it is.
yeah.
Um,
I'm sorry if you guys can hear my dog. She's snoring really loud.
no, I can't hear.
Uh,
I can't hear.
Okay.
I can't hear your dog. You're okay.
I
Um,
just wanted to apologize.
I'm listening to your dog now.
no, you're good.
Sorry?
You're good.
I'm
Okay.
listening to your dog now. Like I'm trying
Uh,
to.
so I guess when do you think that? So, in terms of fan service, do you think that it should be directed towards characters of certain age limit? I know you guys are going to say yes, but I want to see it. I want to know exactly why.
I don't really. I don't really know how to answer that question. I mean, sure, the standard one is like, yes, it should only be um, directed towards the appropriate audience of the appropriate age. But I still don't know, like personally, where fan service falls as as long as it's doing it the right way, other than say it being the right genre. So
Yeah.
sure, if you go into an anime that's an ecchi and you see it happen, you're like, oh, I'm not surprised. But when it does happen, it distracts me. Like personally, it distracts me. But then I'm like, okay, let's just ignore that because that's obviously fan service and go back to the plot. So
Hmm.
I'm,
What
I'm not even thinking about it that far. I'm just trying to redirect to the important bits of the show.
I
Hmm.
think what you're trying to get at, and what is more the fact that, like, yes, you think fan service should be um, for people over a certain age. However, fan service that isn't meant to be a sexual way. So, for example, in Korra wa Zombie Desuka, I don't know if you guys have ever seen that.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. That's a good anime.
Which
It
one
is a
is it?
really good anime.
Which one?
Korra wa Zombie Desuka. I think the
Uh,
English name is So This Is a Zombie or something like that.
Oh, so this is a zombie. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
this is
like
a
that one.
zombie.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
Anyways,
zombie.
the one character is very young. She's a young magic girl.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Um, she falls from the sky and you get a panty shot.
yeah.
However, the scene and the way it's done isn't let's zoom in here, let's have glitter come out of her hoo ha, and let's, stay here for too long. It's just literally she's wearing a skirt because she's a magic girl and she's fighting. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So if you consider that fan service, then yes, it is considered fan service. That's what panty shots are. However,
Oh,
it's not like what they did in No Game, No Life, where you have a very young 11-year-old in a bathtub.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Like for me, it's been always uh again the needless attempt at fan service, especially when it comes to like popular series like Shonen Jump. Like you're talking about like you look at early Naruto, that has like the first episode has fan service, and it's basically Naruto and his sexy clone jutsu.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you were expecting that because they're like sexy jutsu, and then it happened, and you're just like, oh, that's why he said sexy. I mean, I don't think like the part that I like the most about Naruto and the fan service is that he used it as a technique, and it actually worked in one of the most pivotal battles in the end of Shippuden. And then I thought that was like a great example of fan service you want, and not only was it fan service, but it was fan service for female. I was just like, hey, this is I can get behind this. Like this is well done. But that's like the one instance where I'm like, okay, I approve of this fan service. Just with the right audience or the right, I guess,
Tastefulness.
tastefulness in mind. Yeah, because it's not like horrible fan service. It's just like, oh, naked girls. Oh, he changed back. It's fine. And
Well, like
it's not
in
like oh,
yeah, because like you're looking at like I don't know what's a good example. My Hero Academia, like half the class has fan service, and to me, first of all, like none of the girls in My Hero Academia are all that great, but like it to me, like if that's the only plot development that they're gonna have, then I don't know like what else is I don't know what else is like I feel like that the fan service should be at a little bit higher than that, you know?
I have nothing to say. I've never seen My Hero Academia, so
Yeah, it's okay.
okay.
Again, don't
I didn't think. service there was bad, but I personally I'm just too distracted by the animation half the time in My
Fact.
Hero. So like I have other things to say about at least the first season because I think the first season was the most boring of My Hero.
That's what I
But
keep saying to people. I keep saying everybody says like Black Clover has a slow opening, dude. Like nobody actually realizes this, but
yeah.
like the plot of My Hero doesn't get started until like not like even season two.
No,
Like
not even season 2 or 3 or like not even the first part of season. A good plot. They have like the school episode. I'm like, of course you have to have a school episode in this already slow developing.
yeah, but
Well, no, culture festival. It's about a school
yeah,
superhero.
again, nobody cared. I never cared about that episode
Yeah,
or arc. But anyway, we're getting off topic. So I mean, I would say yes because again, we're talking about like the difference between Western and Eastern culture, right? For
right.
Western culture, it's a little bit weird for us, but for Eastern, it's like whatever, right?
Yeah, it's like, oh, this is normal. It won't sell if we don't use it. I think.
Yeah. So that's why, like, even though that we might like hate the fan service and No Game No Life in Japan, they probably like, okay, whatever, this is okay, this is everyday shit or whatever.
Right.
Which again, it really blurs the line. All right. So wait, do you guys think that like fanship should be more accounted for, or do you think it should be more held more lighter in terms of today's viewing?
I'm not quite sure what you mean by that.
Well, like I said, like, do you think that, for example, if a series like Redo of Healer, which is very, very heavy, do you think that uh stuff like that should be held accountable for what they show, or do you think that like it should, I don't know, like it should be held lighter because of what was the, or do you think that we're all just overreacting about it?
Well, it's hard to say just because I just think that maybe instead of being held accountable, because if you do that, then we're going to have to do that with every show. So that includes things like Game of Thrones,
Well, yeah,
right?
but
So, like,
that's just an example,
I,
though. Like,
yeah, no, so what I'm trying to say is I think we should just make sure things are properly rated and properly categorized.
yeah, I actually agree with that because this is the first time I've ever seen like an MA rating on like a series. But like that, even then, it's like a lot of animes in the past have gone away with not giving much of MA rating. Like, don't get me wrong, a lot of them have been censored, but like they've still been viewed by the public. The only ones that haven't been viewed by the public was Interspecies Reviewers because it was taken off the air instead of just giving an MA rating. Because for some reason, despite the fact that they didn't look at the whole the whole plot of the story, they still decide to broadcast it, not knowing that it was going to create a whole shitstorm.
I was thinking something more along the lines of like yes, you can use fan service to maybe complement or boost your show, but maybe instead of like it being over the top in random ones, I don't know if this is likely or this is this would be applied to every like every kind of show or every television, whether it's um animation or live action, but like a certain amount of fan service
Mm-hmm.
regulate. I don't think it's possible, but that's the only thing I can think of me wanting to see, other than it being categorized right, because that is a perfectly good point. But honestly, from what I've seen, I don't think that's likely either. Like them categorizing it right, because some people might just have a really slow developing, really shitty plot, but then they sprinkle like 20% fan service, and then all of a sudden they've got like a bestseller that made it into everyone's top three. So
Mm-hmm.
I'd say it's very hard to quantify even too with my first comment about regulating a certain amount of it too. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's a tricky question.
I do. I think that honestly, if you just slap an MA rating on it, at least it gives a little bit more context, being like, oh, what people are prepared, what people are in for.
Yeah,
Like, um, I guess the final question is that for everybody that's on the podcast today, I want to know the final question, which is, does fan service help ruin an anime for you, or do you not really care?
I'd say I don't really care. I'm indifferent. At least that's what I've learned to do as an anime watcher, to just disregard it if fan service pops up. So I'd say I'm in at the moment.
For me, it depends on the anime and it depends on the type of fan service.
Mm-hmm. So
So for
yeah, I was gonna say
sorry,
what's for you, what's fan service, or what's good fan service?
I wouldn't even say good fan service. It's the type of fan service. Like I said, like for example, I love Food Wars, and you can't really even say that's good fan service. Like the people's
Yeah,
clothes just blow off.
yeah.
But
That's
once
not
again,
even
it
that's not even like bad fan service. That's random fan service that they just slap there because it's etchy probably, and then they're just like, oh,
but it
okay,
works,
yeah, it
right?
works really well. It does.
Exactly. But you do that in a show like Fire Force,
Well,
and it just makes me lose all respect for pretty much every character.
Yeah, like that's I've never been a really big fan of Fire Force, just mainly because like I felt like that the fan service wasn't as kind of just brought the series down for me, and I don't know. Like that's the reason why I haven't even watched the second season yet, because I know of how bad not bad, but like how the plot of how the fan service takes away from the plot a lot. So
Mhm.
I don't care, but I care when it comes to like a certain degree of what I'm watching.
No, I get it. So like there's certain little things like some things I kind of expect in anime, no matter what type of anime, and I can brush over, is like Gynaxing. I see it and I'm like, all right, yeah, I expected to see that in some sort of anime.
Mm-hmm.
But like, so I can look past that in even serious animes. But then when you start to do stuff beyond that in a serious anime, is where I start to go, okay, no, this ruined it. Can't.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Um
That's just my own opinion.
yeah, I can see why you would think that. Okay. So I think this would be a good place to stop off with the podcast. Does anybody have any last minute things they want to say before we finish?
no, I don't.
I think I am good.
All right. Yeah, I think I'm pretty solid with everything. All right. Well, thank you everyone for jumping in. We really appreciate the love you sent for us today. Thank you for everybody who followed us today. We really appreciate it. If you like what you see, you can follow me on Phantasm Star, where I'll be posting our episodes at the Weebsden. If you also like what you see, you can follow Mitchie at Mitchie_Sierra on Instagram. And I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.
And to close this off, I am just going to quote Miyazaki and say that anime is a mistake and it's nothing but trash. And we're talking about fan service.
Facts. All right, everybody. Have a good one.